We have a ton of Alabama football news to discuss on today's show, led by the Lotzeir Brooks neck injury, updates on that, a recruiting flip, a very late one for the class of 2026, recruiting updates for 2027, including Trent Seaborn, and some new staff hires, both coaching staff and, as we just say out loud, front office for a college football team. Let's get into the Brooks update here. He very much scared some Bama fans in a since-deleted Instagram post. We'll show you guys here in just a second. Of him in a neck brace. This is the photo of it, by the way, per his Instagram, before he deleted it. Or I guess Instagram story is the proper terminology there, but everyone knows what I mean. Did caption it, God is great, which you don't normally do if something's really bad. And the context here per On3, Brooks was involved in a car accident, reportedly not his fault, by the way, which if you get, let's say, hypothetically rear-ended, that would explain the neck issue. He's fine. The brace was precautionary. Doesn't sound like any potential issues going to arise for spring ball, fall ball, etc. Still, we'll send some good vibes Brooks' way. If you want to be a part of that, simply like the video on today's show. Let's go to the recruiting side of things. This one for 2027. Trent Seaborn, the quarterback commit for the Crimson Tide, the 4-star. There was an On3 report that Oregon was making a really strong push to land him. Well, Seaborn kind of put that one as a no, it's not happening. He said, I take my commitment very seriously. I had a handful of schools really wanting to come, or me to come, and take visits to them. I appreciate their time, value relationships I have with those coaches as well. At the end of the day, my commitment is solid. I want to make sure that everyone knows it. There's no reason to schedule other OVs, official visits, when I'm staying back and recruiting every weekend and every chance that I get. Seaborn is going to take an official visit to the Crimson Tide on June 12th to the 14th, but based on his own comments, he'll be back at other times for unofficial visits. He is in the state of Alabama, so makes it a little bit easier to take the trip down to Tuscaloosa than, if you were living in California or Texas or Florida, for example. I, for one, love that mindset from Seaborn. It's a different era, and you can always decommit, obviously. But it's nice to, have the guy committed and him not, actively still searching. 'Cause that's not really what a commitment is in the end. If you love that attitude, drop a Roll Tide for me in the comments section. Now, of note, Alabama is still going to pursue a second quarterback in the class of 2027. The big name they are after is 5-star quarterback Elijah Haven, who, when it's all said and done, might very well end up as the number 1 quarterback commit recruit in the class of 2027. Haven's a 5-star. He's 27 overall. Trent Seaborn is 255 overall. They're both in the top 20 among quarterbacks. All of this, by the way, per the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. Seaborn's out of Alabama, Haven out of Louisiana. The Crimson Tide are very much in the mix for Haven. That, however, doesn't appear to be scaring off Seaborn either. He's asked by On3 about potential quarterback competition, adding another top-tier QB recruit. He says, I think it's great. It only adds to the quarterback room with more competition, whoever that might be. They know whoever we bring in will be a good addition to the room and will only make each and every guy in that room better. Look, there's a long way to go in the recruiting cycle, and especially in modern-day college football. If those two end up battling for a starting spot, let's say once Kalen Russell departs to the NFL or whoever wins that job, whatever, it would make sense to see one of them transfer out. But that's down the line. And I think DeBoer's done a great job of this. If you can find a way to get multiple recruits at each spot, each cycle, let them develop, let them compete, and the loser transfers, that's actually a really good outcome for the Crimson Tide, or if they transfer the year after they lose the job. And if you can build up your Bama stock, so to speak, and transfer out as the backup, you start to have plenty of interest from major programs. So, long way to go, but I did love both of those answers and comments by Trent Seaborn. Deal alert for you guys. This, I think, awesome Alabama quarter zip is 30% off and free shipping, by the way, at chatsports.com/BamaQZ. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/BamaQZ. Get yours today. Still works even as it's not quite the spring/summer timeline weather-wise at this point. Let's go back to 2026 here. Alabama pulling off a late flip over the weekend. 2026 JUCO wide receiver Tyler Henderson originally was committed to Kennesaw State, he is now flipped to the Crimson Tide. He is a 3-star JUCO recruit, number 88 among JUCO wide receivers, or JUCO players, 15th among JUCO wideouts, 28th in the state of Mississippi, played at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College this past year. Great numbers, 67 catches, over 1,000 yards per the Mississippi Gulf Coast CC website. 17.9 yards per catch, 12 touchdowns as well. This is additional depth that the Crimson Tide needed. They've got 3 guys, maybe 4 guys if you want to include Noah Rogers. I think they feel confident in playing. But it's college football. You've got spring. You've got all these practices. You can't get by with even 7 wide receivers. So all these late additions, Sabb and Mathis and Walker, we'll see if Sabb plays receiver or athlete, whatever. Henderson, they've added depth and bodies to a wide receiver room that very much needed it. Even if they're not top-end players, you need somebody to be wide receiver 9. That's how it works in college football. It's no different than the preseason for the NFL in the end. So overall, grade the Alabama wide receiver room in 2026. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Couple new hires I want to get into here for the Crimson Tide. Brad Aoki, I don't know if he's related to Steve, but pass game specialist coming over from USC, where he spent the past couple of years as an analyst. Then 3 new, I guess we can call them analysts. They were essentially interns previously. Dylan Morris, Luke Cameron, and then finally Corey Luciano. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name there, Corey, so apologies if I got it wrong. The big note here is Aoki, who had spent the last 2 years at USC. He was, in particular, working with the quarterback, so a new offensive coach added to the Crimson Tide on that front. That is the coaching adjustments. Front office-wise, also some updates. Stephen Wise, who was a Cardinals scouting assistant, coming over. Alex Mathis, who was Georgia Tech's executive recruiting director. Both of them going to work under Courtney Morgan it's the front office for Alabama. Welcome to college football in 2026. Wise's career, he spent 4 years as the Cardinals scouting assistant. I think he also did some national football scouting, liaison between the team and that organization. They help run the combine, by the way. He was also, sounds like more of an intern at South Carolina for a couple years, the South Carolina recruiting assistant. So some type of, recruiting assistant role will probably be in the cards here for Wise. Nothing overly official announced. It's all been reported by Matt Zenitz over at 24/7 Sports/CBS. Mathis, meanwhile, was the Tech executive recruiting director this past year. Spent 2 years at UCF in that exact same role. Was the previous UCF assistant director of player personnel. And for many years before that, was a Georgia high school head coach. He spent a half decade or so in that with a couple different programs down south. So got obvious ties to the Peach State, which probably matter for the Crimson Tide. You guys want even more free Alabama football YouTube videos? You've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out for free Alabama football YouTube videos. Let's get to the official visit for the Crimson Tide. Edge Antoine Jackson is set to join, or at least have, I should say, an official visit. Several SEC visits lined up for now at least, unranked Edge. Bama gets the first crack. He'll be in town for May 28th. Ole Miss, June 5th. And then Tennessee, June 19th. Of note, by the way, which I think is certainly relevant here, Jackson was in town for one of the junior days, 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, for the Crimson Tide. Told On3 this about that visit. What stands out to me about Alabama is the standard. The culture of discipline, accountability, and competition really separates them from others. I will make note, Jackson, the Tennessee product, is not ranked in the 24/7 Sports composite rankings, but maybe I'm crazy. When you take official visits to Alabama and Ole Miss and Tennessee, and you're being recruited by some powerful, notable SEC programs, that probably means the recruiting services are just behind. So whether he checks in as a 3-star or a 4-star or whatever, at some point, once the recruiting rankings get caught up, they're always playing catch-up in the end. It's no different than any of the media scouts these days. I'm sure he will be probably in the top 400, 300, whatever, in the official finalized 24/7 Sports composite rankings.